Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to StarCraft 2 Strategy. Today we're going to be taking a look at a Zerg strategy. More importantly, we're going to be looking at a good response to the Terran build of going Mass Reapers into Bioball that a lot of players have been doing lately. Basically, we're going to show you how to properly respond and a good counter, and basically just a good opening build to go against this Terran type of strategy. So in this particular strategy replay, the Zerg player we're looking at is Lair, and our Terran opponent is Call Me G. I'm going to go ahead and go straight into Lair's vision right now. So again, this is just going to be, we're going to show you this good opening build. Basically what it's going to consist of is going for a fast expansion to get that economic advantage, but at the same time, in going for a fast expansion, you really have to play a bit defensively early on, just to make sure that you can maintain and hold on to that fast expansion. The reason we're going for this fast expansion as well is obviously there's that economic advantage, but if we don't, then we're basically just going to be forced to sit in our base with Mass Reapers. If we don't have that economic advantage, it's going to be very difficult for us to push out against that type of build. So going for this fast expansion, playing defensively, trying our best early in the game to fend off that Reaper attack, and it really is that very beginning stages of the game that it's going to be most difficult to hold off this Mass Reaper into Bioball build. From that point forward, once you are able to get up your expansion and saturate, you're in a much better position at that point. There we go. Sometimes words, I tell you, they escape me. So we're starting off with that 14 Hatchery. Again, we're going for that really quick expansion. We are in fact getting that Hatchery before the spawning pool even. Again, the idea is we want to get up this economic advantage as quickly as possible. Now, of course, we are going to be very susceptible to early pushes, but that's why, again, we're going to be playing defensively. And we are, in fact, going to be skipping getting that Speedling upgrade first, and we're going to be going straight for Roaches, because, again, Roaches are very strong against Reapers. Now, we do suspect that Reaper build is coming once we move our drone back down here. So far, things look pretty standard with that orbital command, 1 refinery. Moving our drone back down here, though, we do see this tech lab, so that kind of tells us we can expect that. That coupled with the fact that, again, this has been a very popular strategy for Terran players lately. So here we go, we do have our spawning pool that we did put down at 14 supply. So far we've just been droning up. Our natural expansion is just about to come up. Now in this particular game, our Zerg player here does deal with a little bit of bunker placement harass, basically trying to force us inside of our base. Now I'm going to note something on this. This is something, if you come up against this, you need to remove these as quickly as possible. Obviously the Reapers are going to be able to sit in them, that sucks. But also the fact that you're blocked into your base is terrible, because going for this fast expansion, if he blocks you into your base and you're not able to support it with units from inside of your main, you are going to just be destroyed, basically. That's what's going to happen. So you do need to make sure you get rid of these. Definitely it's worth pulling some drones off the line to stop these bunkers from sitting there, because again, if he put Reapers in there when we tried to move down to support any harassment of our natural, we would just get obliterated. So also dropping a spine crawler, again, this goes back to the fact that I said that we're going to want to be playing a little bit defensively. Dropping that extractor as well, because we are of course going to need Vespian gas to get our Roaches, and ideally that's kind of what we're looking at as early game defense. We have our queens, obviously going to be very useful, and we started our first queen at 16 supply, just now came up. We also have the second queen here. We have our queens, and we also have our spine crawlers, and then it's going to be our Roaches. Now that's basically, those are the three key components. That's that trifactor there that we're looking at for getting, let me go straight into Lair vision, there we go. That's what we're looking at as our defense against these Reapers early game, as opposed to going for that quick Speedling upgrade, which Speedlings are of course very good against Reapers, but the problem is that if they dance around the ledges, you're going to be screwed. Well, you don't have that same problem with Roaches. If Reapers try to jump up and down, Roaches are just going to spit them right in the face, and their spit does a lot of damage, just in case you haven't realized. So yeah, we're going to be trying to get these Roaches up, coupled with the queens and spine crawlers. That's what we're going to be using as defense against these Reapers. Now of course you do need to be very careful, because these Reapers can dance around the queen, especially with that speed upgrade. So it's going to be tough for you to do damage if your opponent is good at microing those Reapers. That second queen is going to be pretty vital, and again, trying to fend off any Reaper harassment super early on. Now we do have these first batch of Roaches coming up, and that's really going to be what's going to push back these Reapers, and pretty much forced, at that point our Terran opponent is pretty much forced to switch into going for that Bioball. But again, we are still susceptible to early attack, so you do want to make sure that, again, you have spine crawlers up and you play in a sort of a defensive position. When going for this fast expansion, you really can't play aggressively because you're spending so much economy on getting drones to saturate your expansion. So it's really playing aggressively when going for fast expansion super early isn't really possible. But the good thing is that once you do have that fast expansion up and you start to saturate it and you get that economic advantage, that's when you can go ahead and play aggressively. And this is exactly what I'm talking about, stopping those Reapers from dancing around up and down these ledges just by sitting these Roaches right here. That's going to completely nullify any Reaper bouncing on the ledges. Now the one thing I would note is that right here we are still vulnerable, but again, if they were to push up at that point, we do have a spine crawler down. We could move it over, and we'd also of course be able to bring our Roaches down. So at this point, you know, basically what we're looking at doing is macroing up, again, staying in that defensive position for the time being. We're dropping these 2 additional spine crawlers, and this is a pretty good spread as well. This is going to protect us from him moving behind the mineral line. It's also going to protect us from when they jump up here. So definitely a good idea. I guess you don't really have to worry so much about this position at the moment because we do have Roaches and Queens inside the base and at our natural. We could pin them in between the two. Again, and this just goes to show you how dangerous Reapers can be for Zerg early on. Moving in, he managed to pick off our Queen there. And we are going to be dropping a Banelings nest. Now, the purpose behind doing this and kind of the idea behind it is that we're going to be using the Banelings for that probable transition into the Bioball. Now, there is that scenario, of course, that our opponent can just go straight up Marauders, but something to note is that we're not just going straight for Banelings. Yes, we're getting the nest, but this is one of those preparation types of decisions where if we start to see massive Marines, then we're going to start transforming Banelings. Until then, we're just going to use our Zerglings and Roaches. We're not going to go straight into morphing Banelings as soon as our Zerglings come out, but we're prepared for it if necessary. So we're preparing for the probable. We're preparing for that, again, that Bioball that we will likely see. And if he doesn't go for Marines and if he goes straight up for Marauders, well, these Zerglings, these Speedlings more specifically, are going to be very effective versus the Marauders. So it's not like we're at a loss. The only thing we're really down is how much it costs to drop the Baneling nest, but that's not that big of a deal. And just looking at timing here, I do just want to note that we did get that Roach Warren at 25 supply, and again, we get that Baneling nest once we realized that transition to Bioball was likely to be coming. Also upgrading to a Lair here, preparing for higher tech. This is also going to allow us to get our upgrades for our Roaches. Again, Roaches can be very strong, especially when upgraded versus a Bioball. You do have to worry about that stim pack move back and forward, but again, that's not really, we're not concerned too much with that at the moment. Now, as you can see, he is moving forward. We did see some Marines, and also, obviously, these Banelings will do well versus the Reapers if they can catch up to them. So with proper micromanagement, getting these Banelings is definitely not a bad decision. But seeing those Marines, that's the main reason. If you see a mass of Marines, that's the main reason you do want to get Banelings. Otherwise, they're not as effective. And then, of course, always there's that option of using those Banelings just to break through with your Roaches through the front of their wall. So as you can see here, we're still kind of sitting in that little defensive position. We're just doing what's necessary. We're building up our economy. We're getting that advantage, and that's going to allow us to overwhelm our opponent. Now, we do, of course, need to make sure that they themselves do not have an expansion. So we are going to use any scouting information we can get. The last time we checked, there was no expansion up. And we're just going to take a quick look right now. So he does finally have an expansion up right now. And that's, even without seeing it, that is a pretty safe bet. If you're facing an intelligent player and you haven't harassed them anytime at all, basically, if you haven't pushed out at any point in the game and your opponent's pretty much been sitting inside their base, it's a pretty safe bet that they will have expanded. In fact, we did finally move up a Zergling, and we have seen that expansion ourselves. Dangerous part of this map, of course, is that back destructible rocks area. He was able to push inside of our base, but luckily, again, Zerglings are most effective when surrounding units, so we're going to move them down and try to get a nice surround on them, also pushing forward our Banelings. Now, unfortunately, Banelings aren't really that strong versus Marauders. As you can see, we are trying to move them towards the Marines. That's basically our main goal. They do damage, of course, to Marauders, but not nearly as much as they do to those light units, which are the Marines. We were able to overcome them, though, because, again, we dropped that expansion much earlier than our opponent, so we get that economic advantage over them, and thusly get that larger army. And at this point, we are going to be pushing out. We don't want to let them sit on that expansion too long. We want to at least do some harass, try as best we can to take it out. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing here. Moving forward with our Speedlings and our Roaches, trying to do as much damage as possible. As you can see, again, we are getting that Roach upgrade now that we have that Lair tech. We also ended up getting a Spire for Mutalisk. Just another transition, another possibility. Now, getting surrounded there by those SCVs with having that Marauder fire, we do pull back our Roaches, wait for reinforcements, which did come in the form of those Zerglings, and then push forward again. As you can see, the Terran player does go ahead and call good game at this point because he realizes it's pretty much over. The main advantage to what happened and the main reason we really won in this particular matchup is we got that fast expansion for that early economy, but more importantly, we played very defensive early on, and we went for that fast Roach as opposed to the Speedling. That fast Roach is going to fend off the Reapers, and then you can prepare for that Bioball transition by getting Speedlings and getting that Banelings nest. And then, of course, we teched up to that Lair so we could get those Roach upgrades, as well as possibly switch to a Spire to get some Mutalisk, which is what we ended up doing in this game. I didn't take note of the second hatchery. If you're wondering, that, of course, is used just for that extra larva spawn. Also, if your queen's ever sitting on energy, or if you pick up another queen, you can use spew larva on both. So taking a look at that build order, what we're looking at is we went with that 14 hatchery, that really fast expansion. We followed that up with a 14 spawning pool. At 16 supply, we did get our first queen. At 20 supply, we get that spine crawler to defend our natural. That's one of those defensive maneuvers that we decided to do. Definitely something I would suggest. 19 supply, we get a second queen. We do, of course, want at least one queen per hatchery for that spawn larva ability. And then at 24, we finally got our extractor. Saturating that extractor once it came up, we skipped that metabolic boost in the very beginning and went straight for that Roach Warren, used all of our Vespian gas for Roaches, and then after we were able to fend off that Reaper attack, that Reaper harassment, we then, of course, got Speedlings to deal with that Marauder threat in the Bioball. So again, guys, this has been for StarCraft 2 strategy. We have taken a look at how to effectively counter Reaper Harass and then transition into Bio as Zerg. If you guys like our videos and you like what you see here, please do go ahead and subscribe to our channel. Keep watching and keep owning, guys. And as you can see here, these Brewlinks, they attack super fast with 4 damage a hit. We push back his army here, and then we're able to successfully bust through the front of his gate. He's moving up all of his workers. We're able to pop a Baneling right in between, killing many of them. Now, he does end up fending off this attack just barely, but he loses nearly all of his workers.